Belief in yourself is the strength to overcome any challenge. At the base of the majestic Ngowa Long Mountain, beside the babbling Jade Stream, the ancient Thien Tom Temple lay hidden among the lush bamboo forest. In the quiet main hall, the venerable monk Min Tom, with hair as white as clouds, sat in meditation, his serene face exuding absolute peace. Next to him, his youngest disciple, Tin Kong, knelt with a troubled expression. "Master," Tin Kong began, his voice trembling, "I feel like a speck of dust in the vast desert, small and useless in the face of life's challenges. I'm scared, Master." Monk Min Tom slowly opened his eyes, his warm gaze like the full moon's light shining on Tin Kong. He smiled gently. "My dear, look at that stream. It starts as a tiny drop of water weaving through rocks, overcoming waterfalls, and then becomes a powerful flow that nourishes an entire land." Tin Kong looked at the stream, his eyes lighting up with hope. Monk Min Tom continued, "Life is like that stream. Everyone faces their own challenges, but with enough perseverance and faith we can overcome anything. Remember, you are never alone. You are a part of this universe, part of the flow of life. Open your heart, accept the love and help from those around you, and you will find extraordinary strength within." Monk Min Tom slowly stood up, taking Tin Kong's hand and leading him to the stream's edge. Under the golden morning sun, the sparkling water droplets danced on the surface. Every drop of water is precious, contributing to the stream. You are the same, Tin Kong. No matter how small, you have your own unique value. Believe in yourself, in your abilities. Never give up on your dreams and aspirations, because when you are strong enough, you can achieve things you never thought possible. Tin Kong quietly listened to every word of his master, feeling them deeply in his soul, warming his once cold heart. He realized that difficulties are just a part of life, and we can overcome them if we have enough willpower and determination. From then on, Tin Kong was no longer afraid of challenges. He always remembered his master's teachings and became a strong, confident person, ready to face all of life's storms. Life is a journey full of challenges, but also full of wonders. Never lose faith in yourself, and always remember that you have the strength to overcome any hardship. Open your heart, embrace the love and support from those around you, and you will find the path to success and happiness. 2. Embracing differences to understand the truth. A chilly autumn breeze swept through the courtyard of Duoksun Temple, carrying with it the faded yellow leaves. Inside the temple, Master Duoksun was chanting scriptures flanked by his two devoted disciples, Van Nam and Dao Ngo. The master's gaze rested on two ancient trees in the front yard. One was lush and vibrant, the other bare and stark. "Look at these trees, the withered and the flourishing. Which do you think is better?" Master Duoksun suddenly asked, breaking the silence. Dao Ngo, always enthusiastic, quickly replied, "Master, the flourishing tree is better. It provides shade and shelter, bears flowers and fruits, and nourishes all beings." Van Nam, who was calm and spoke little, shook his head. "Master, I think the withered tree is better. It has endured the hardships of life, weathering storms and droughts. Though it no longer has life, it stands proudly as a venerable elder." Just then, a passerby named Mr. Cow overheard the master's question and respectfully bowed. "Master, the withered tree has its reasons, and so does the flourishing one. One is withered by its fate, the other lush by its own. Both are simply the natural way of things." Master Duoksun smiled, his eyes twinkling with satisfaction. "Mr. Cow speaks wisely. Both the withered and the flourishing trees have their own value. We often judge things as good or bad, but these are just subjective viewpoints. Everything in the world has its own causes and conditions. Nothing is absolute. Then, turning to his disciples, he continued slowly. You see, the same issue can be viewed differently by different people. Dao and Go sees the life in the flourishing tree. Van Ham sees the resilience of the withered one, and Mr. Cow sees the natural order of things. All are correct. Each is a part of the truth. As the autumn wind blew again, Master Duoxan's teachings echoed through the air. Van Nam and Dao Go bowed their heads in reflection, filled with gratitude. They understood that the world is not just black and white, but filled with a multitude of shades. Everyone has their own perspective. No one is completely right or wrong. What matters is that we respect these differences and learn to see issues from various angles to better understand the essence of things. Each person has their unique perspective on the world. There are no absolute rights or wrongs. We should respect these differences and learn to view issues from multiple angles to gain a deeper understanding of the nature of things and events. 3. Finding balance for happiness. One peaceful afternoon, a monk was strolling through a serene garden when he heard a melodious sound of a musical instrument from afar. The music was gentle and soothing, like a flowing stream, bringing a sense of peace to his heart. Drawn by the sound, the monk walked closer and saw a young man engrossed in playing the instrument. The monk gently asked, "Are the strings of your instrument tightened to the fullest?" The young man paused and replied, "No, they are not." The monk continued, "Are the strings too loose then?" The young man smiled and said, "No, they are not." Curious, the monk asked, "So how do you tune your strings to create such beautiful music?" The young man confidently answered, "Not too tight, not too loose, sir. Only when the strings are balanced, neither too tight nor too loose, can they produce perfect sounds." Hearing this, the monk smiled, his eyes gleaming with joy. Exactly. Life is like this instrument. If we can keep everything balanced, neither too strict nor too lenient, things will turn out better. When people treat life with ease and calmness, they will achieve more than they expect. Only when the strings are not too tight nor too loose can they create the beautiful music of life. The young man listened, filled with gratitude, and bowed to thank the monk for his precious wisdom. From that moment, he deeply understood the importance of balance in life, found real inspiration, and gradually attained happiness and peace in his soul. In life, we need to learn to pursue our careers, material wealth, and benefits, while also focusing on personal growth and spiritual elevation. Only by balancing these aspects can we achieve true fulfillment, abundance, and happiness. Balance not only helps us improve ourselves, but also makes life more harmonious and worthwhile. 4. Finding truth in emptiness. Under the reddish hue of sunset over the mountains, Zen Master EQ sat on the temple porch, a mischievous smile playing on his lips. In front of him, his disciples were deep in thought, eyes fixed on a piece of paper on the table, where the master's skillful ink strokes seemed to dance, challenging the intellect of those before him. Not male, not female, not person, not object. What is it? The room fell silent, heads bowed, eyes closed, foreheads wrinkled. They were used to their master's challenging puzzles, but this question seemed to transcend ordinary reasoning. A young disciple spoke up, his voice trembling. "Master, could the answer be nothingness?" EQ smiled and shook his head. "Nothingness is still a concept, while my answer lies beyond all concepts." Another disciple boldly suggested, "Perhaps it's the soul. It has no physical form, transcending life and death." The master shook his head again, his eyes gleaming with amusement. The soul is still an entity, albeit invisible. My answer goes deeper than that. As time passed, the sun completely set behind the mountains, darkness enveloping them, yet the disciples had not found the answer. They began to feel disheartened. Suddenly, EQ spoke, his voice deep and resonant in the still air. My children, sometimes the answer lies not in existence but in emptiness. Let go of all thoughts, all concepts, all attachments, and you will find the answer. He gestured to the empty space before him. Not male, not female, not person, not object. It is emptiness. The room seemed to light up. The disciples looked at each other, then suddenly understood. Joy and realization spread through them. EQ watched them, his smile broadening. Have you learned the lesson today? The disciples replied in unison, Yes, we have understood. Thank you, Master, for teaching us. This story about the Zen master and his riddle reminds us that sometimes truth is not found in what we see, hear, or feel. Truth lies in emptiness, in letting go of all worldly attachments and preconceptions. Only when our minds are still can we see the true nature of everything.
If you like this video, please comment 1. And if you don't, comment 2. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.
5. From mud to lotus, learning to overcome hardships. In the fresh dawn, early morning dew still clung to the lotus leaves like sparkling gems. An old Zen master and his young student walked by the lotus pond. The dark, sticky mud seemed unpleasant, but from it, green lotus buds proudly rose, revealing their pure pink petals. The young man furrowed his brow in curiosity. Master, why does the lotus choose to grow in this foul, muddy place instead of a cleaner one? The Zen master smiled, picked a dew-covered lotus flower and placed it in the student's hand. Look closely at this flower. Do you see its pure beauty? The young man nodded, his eyes filled with admiration. That beauty comes from this very mud. The mud may be ugly, but it provides the nutrients that sustain the lotus. Without the mud, the lotus could not grow and blossom. Similarly, in life, hardships and challenges are like the mud. We need to overcome them to grow and shine. The young man pondered this, then suddenly understood, his eyes lighting up with joy and gratitude. I understand now, Master. The mud is not something to fear, but an opportunity to strengthen myself. I will no longer fear difficulties. The Zen master nodded in satisfaction, patting the student's head. That's right, my son. Remember, after the rain, the sky clears, and after the darkness comes the dawn. Even if you fall into the mud, keep your faith and determination, and you will bloom like the lotus. They continued walking, leaving behind the image of proud pink lotuses rising from the mud, a testament to the strong vitality and hidden beauty within each of us. Do not fear hardships and challenges. View them as opportunities to grow and shine. Keep your faith and determination, and you will overcome everything and achieve success. The story of the lotus flower and the mud is a profound reminder of the value of difficulties in life. We should not avoid or fear them, but face and overcome them. Only then can we discover the hidden strength within ourselves and become the best version of who we are. 6. Cherish every moment. Under the shade of an ancient Bodhi tree, a Zen master sat quietly, his eyes half closed, blending into the rustling wind and the sweet scent of flowers. 2 weary travelers approached, hoping to find peace within. The first, his face marked by the lines of time, bowed slightly and asked, Master, what is the meaning of life? I've been through so much but still haven't found the answer. The second, with the bright eyes of youth, asked, Master, I've heard that you make excellent tea. Could you teach me how to brew it so I can fully enjoy its flavor? The master smiled gently and slowly poured hot water into the teapot. From a distance, the green tea leaves seemed to dance in the clear water, releasing a delightful fragrance that blended with a hint of incense, creating a serene atmosphere. After pouring the tea into 2 small cups, the master handed one to each visitor, softly saying, "Please, take a sip." They lifted their cups, closed their eyes, and let the mild bitterness of the tea dissolve in their mouths, spreading warmth throughout their bodies. The master looked at them with compassion and said, "Life is like this cup of tea. Some people rush to drink it all at once, only tasting the initial bitterness without realizing that a sweet aftertaste is hidden within. Others sip slowly, appreciating every subtle flavor from the initial bite at the lips to the sweetness at the back of the throat, finding peace and tranquility in the process." He paused, then continued, "The meaning of life isn't found in grand questions, but right in the present moments. Cherish every breath, every smile, every tear, and every joy and sorrow of your life. That's how we live a fulfilling and meaningful life." The travelers were moved, the master's words touching the depths of their souls. They realized that they had been too busy searching for distant things, forgetting that happiness was right there in the simple things around them. With another sip of tea, they felt lighter and more at peace than ever before. They bowed in gratitude to the master and left with a new outlook, ready to embrace life with an open and thankful heart. Life is a journey, not a destination. Enjoy each moment, cherish the simple things, and don't forget to share love with those around you. That's how we truly find the meaning of life. 7. Let go to find a new path. In a quiet Zen garden, under the shade of an ancient tree, an old Zen master sat in meditation, his eyes half closed as if lost in another world. A young disciple filled with doubts and worries knelt beside him, waiting for guidance. "Master," the disciple began, his voice trembling, "people often say when one door closes, another opens. But sometimes I feel like all the doors are shut and there's no way out." The Zen master slowly opened his eyes, a compassionate smile appearing on his wrinkled face. He pointed towards an old wooden gate, covered in vines that formed a green wall. "Do you see that gate?" the master asked. The disciple nodded. "Do you think it's closed forever?" The disciple hesitated, then replied, "Yes, maybe it is, master." The master smiled, stood up, and walked to the gate. He gently placed his hand on the vines, feeling the strong life flowing through each strand. Then, with slow but deliberate movements, he started to remove the vines. The disciple watched in amazement. Gradually, the gate emerged, no longer a green wall but a new path leading to the unknown. The master turned to the disciple, his eyes shining with trust and hope. "You see," he said, "sometimes the closed door is the way out. When we let go of what's old and no longer fits, we can find new opportunities and new paths." The disciple bowed his head, filled with gratitude. The master's words were like a beam of light illuminating his soul, dispelling the shadows of despair and pessimism. Life is a series of opening and closing doors. When a door closes, don't lose heart. Believe that it's a chance for another door to open, or perhaps the closed door itself is the way out. Sometimes we need to let go of what no longer fits to welcome new and better things. Remember, after each closed door, there's always a new path waiting. The important thing is to have the courage to step through. 8. Humility and perseverance. Keys to fulfillment. In the district of Feng Hoa, in the ancient land of Min Chao, there were 2 renowned figures revered by all, the monk Bo Dai and the layman Tin Bin. Although their actions were somewhat odd and their words eccentric, in the eyes of the locals they were both wise and enlightened. One day, a curious young man set out to learn more about these two figures. He first visited monk Bodhi, whose reputation had spread far and wide. In a foul-smelling and dirty alley he found the monk, a short and plump man looking like a ball lying on the ground. The young man invited monk Bodhi to have a meal at a small eatery. He asked the waiter to bring a variety of delicious dishes, chicken, duck, fish, without caring what the monk would do. Monk Bodhi joined his hands respectfully, chanted, cause and effect, and then ate heartily without hesitation. With each dish he put a little in his cloth bag and smiled at the young man. Disappointed, the young man thought, "Is this what you call a wise monk?" He decided to visit the layman Tin Bin, hoping to learn something useful. When he arrived, layman Tin Bin was meditating deeply. Seeing the young man, he didn't speak a word but silently picked up a teapot, pouring it respectfully into a cup. The water overflowed, yet he didn't stop pouring. "Layman, the cup is already full. How can you pour more?" The young man couldn't help but remind him. "Is that so?" Layman continued pouring tea, leisurely asking back, "And what about you?" At that moment the young man had an epiphany, exclaiming, "Truly a wise man. It is I who am the fool." "Tell me," the layman asked calmly, "you have taught me that one must be humble like an empty cup to receive more knowledge, not to be complacent, tired of what one already knows. When I realized this, I understood that monk Bodhi also taught me that life requires practice, accumulating experience each day. With these two precious lessons, I will no longer be troubled." The layman nodded, his kind eyes looking at the young man. Success requires two precious things: an open mind like an empty cup and the persistence to accumulate like a cloth bag. Only when you appreciate both can you reach fulfillment. The young man left quietly, his heart full of gratitude and admiration. These teachings not only helped him find his direction, but also became a guiding principle for his life. Just as the ancients said, "Water overflows when full, an empty heart can hold the most." 9. Sacrifice out of compassion. The setting sun painted the ancient trees in the temple courtyard a deep red, and the distant sound of the temple bell echoed softly. In the warm meditation room the old monk sat calmly, fingering his prayer beads, his eyes half closed as if in a mysterious dream. Young monk, Tom, with a round face and bright eyes, entered the room and respectfully clasped his hands together. "Master, I have a question." The old monk slowly opened his eyes, his gaze as gentle as the full moon. "Ask, Tam." "Master, do bodhisattvas ever kill?" Tam asked, thinking the answer would surely be no. How could a compassionate bodhisattva kill? But the old monk's reply surprised him. "Kill? Bodhisattvas often kill tirelessly." And Tom was shocked. Why? How could bodhisattvas do that? "To save sentient beings and subdue demons," the old monk replied calmly. Still confused, Tom asked, "Wouldn't that be breaking the precepts?" "Breaking the precepts without breaking them," the old monk explained. "Breaking the precepts means there is an act of killing, but not breaking them means the bodhisattva has no intention of killing. Thus, it aligns with the spirit of the precepts." What intention does the bodhisattva have when killing? And Tom was curious. When the bodhisattva kills, his only intention is to save those beings from harm and to rescue those evil spirits harming others, preventing endless suffering, the old monk answered. And Tom still had more questions. Do bodhisattvas go to hell for killing? "Bodhisattvas often descend to hell," the old monk replied. "Why?" And Tom was even more surprised. "Because bodhisattvas never rest in saving sentient beings and subduing demons never ends. How could they not frequently go to hell?" Knowing they will go to hell, why do they still kill? And Tom didn't understand. The old monk looked at him, his eyes filled with determination. That is the fundamental spirit of a bodhisattva. To save sentient beings, if we don't go to hell, who will? And Tom pondered deeply, his master's words illuminating his soul. He suddenly understood that bodhisattvas do not kill out of hatred or selfishness, but out of immense compassion, to save beings from suffering. It is a boundless love, a great sacrifice. From then on, and Tom respected bodhisattvas even more and became more diligent in his practice. He realized that practicing isn't just about chanting and meditating, but also about practicing compassion and being ready to sacrifice for others. The story of the bodhisattva's killing teaches us that sometimes we must do things that seem contrary to common sense or rules, but they stem from compassion and love. We shouldn't judge actions by their appearance, but look at the motivation and deeper meaning. The bodhisattva willingly descends to hell to save beings, setting a shining example of compassion and sacrifice. We should follow the bodhisattva's example and live a meaningful life, a life for others. If you find these stories inspiring and they motivate you to take action, please comment 9. If not, comment 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time. 10. Letting go of desires to find true joy. Beneath the ancient eaves of a temple, where the quiet scent of incense fills the serene space, Master Voduk still welcomes those lost souls seeking guidance. On that day, 3 weary travelers arrived, their faces etched with deep sorrow. "Please teach us how to live joyfully," one of them pleaded, their voice laden with fatigue. Master Voduk smiled gently, his eyes seeming to see into their very souls. "What are you living for?" he asked. The first traveler sighed. "I live because I am afraid of dying." The second added, "I live hoping for descendants to lessen the loneliness of old age." The third said, "My family relies on me. I cannot die." Master Voduk shook his head. "If so, you will never find true joy." The travelers looked surprised, hope flickering in their eyes. The master explained calmly, "You are bound by fear, by expectations and responsibilities. These are not the voices of your hearts, but the chains that bind your souls." "What is joy, then?" asked one. "Is it found in money, love, fame?" the travelers suggested one by one. Master Voduk chuckled. "Those are mere illusions. If you chase after these fleeting things, your suffering will only multiply." The travelers grew more anxious, pleading for enlightenment. When you have money, love, fame, greater desires will arise. Anxiety will continue to haunt you. To find peace, you must learn to let go, to transform your thoughts. Use money to help others, spread love, and use fame to serve all beings. The master's words shone a light into the dark recesses of the travelers' souls. They realized that true joy does not come from external things, but from within themselves. When they knew how to give, love, and serve, their souls were freed from troubles, and their lives filled with light. Happiness is not about reaching a destination, but about the journey. Don't chase far-off goals. Cherish every moment of the present. To give is to receive. When we share, love, and help others, we gain joy and peace in our hearts. Let go to be free. Don't let desires and ambitions enslave your soul. Learn to let go to find freedom. Life is a continuous journey of transformation. When we listen to our hearts, we find the light that guides us through life's darkest moments. 11. Giving is about respect and sharing. In a peaceful monastery, Under the shade of an ancient Bodhi tree, there was an old monk renowned throughout the region for his skill in making cakes. Each of his steamed layer cakes had a unique and delicious flavor that everyone praised. One day, a ragged beggar came to the temple, asking to taste the famous cake. The young monk saw how dirty he was and shooed him away. But the compassionate monk stopped them and kindly invited the beggar inside. He personally chose the largest, most delicious cake and offered it to the beggar. The beggar was deeply moved and, after eating, pulled out 3 small coins from his pocket and pressed them into the monk's hand. "This is all I have. Please accept it." The monk smiled, clasped his hands, and said, "Thank you for your kindness. I wish you a safe journey." The young monks were puzzled and asked the monk, "Master, why did you accept money from the beggar?" The monk replied, "I gave him the cake to fill his stomach, but accepting his money was to warm his heart. I couldn't let him feel indebted to me forever. It would make him feel ashamed." The young monks didn't fully understand, but the monk smiled gently and said no more. Years later, a wealthy merchant came to the temple to give thanks. He explained that many years ago, when he was a poor beggar, the monk had given him a cake and accepted his 3 small coins. The monk's kindness and respect had given him the strength to overcome hardships and rise to become a successful merchant. The young monks, hearing this, suddenly understood. They realized that giving is not just about material things, but also about giving respect and faith. Sometimes, a small act can change a person's life. This story reminds us of the value of respect and dignity. When helping others, we should see it not as charity but as an exchange, a sharing. Every person has self-respect, and respecting that is what motivates them to strive in life. 12. Letting go of limits to reach new heights. Atop Lac Pho Peak, white clouds drift lazily, mingling with the resonant sound of temple bells. Zen master Nguyen An, an enlightened sage, teaches Buddhism daily to his disciples. Among them is a young monk named Thien Tin, who was born into an official's family but left the bustling world to seek enlightenment. Thien Tin diligently practices his faith, tilling the soil and planting vegetables by day and chanting prayers by night. One day, another monk asks Master Nguyen An for permission to leave the mountain for a pilgrimage. The master smiles and asks, "The mountains surround us. Where do you plan to go?" The monk is left speechless. The master suggests he take a walk around the temple and then return. Wandering to the vegetable garden, the monk encounters Thien Tin busy at work. Noticing the monk's sadness, Thien Tin learns of his unapproved request to leave. Smiling, Thien Tin says, "Even hollow bamboo cannot stop the flow of water, and no mountain can stop the clouds from drifting. You only need determination to overcome any obstacle." Enlightened by these words, the monk quickly returns to Master Nguyen An and repeats what Thien Tin said. The master nods and replies, "Thien Tin truly is wise beyond his years. As for you, stay at the temple and continue your practices. Do not rush to leave the mountain." Taking this advice, the monk stays, setting aside thoughts of leaving. Thien Tin, with his wisdom and compassion, eventually becomes a revered high monk, honored by all. The story of Thien Tin and the monk teaches a profound lesson. There is no mountain too high to climb, no challenge too difficult to overcome, if we have enough determination and strength. Only by letting go of negative thoughts and self-imposed limitations can we reach new heights and achieve great accomplishments. 13. Patience and seizing opportunities. On a high mountain, mist swirled around Thien Tin Pagoda in the cool autumn weather. The faint scent of Hoa Ngao flowers mixed with the smell of incense, creating a peaceful atmosphere. The venerable monk, Master Tin Kong, sat cross-legged on a mat, fingering his prayer beads. In front of him were his two devoted disciples, Adida and Bode. After the Mid-Autumn Festival, the pagoda received many offerings, including a basket of plump pears. The master decided to share the pears with his two disciples, but did so differently. He kindly told Adida, "These pears are still a bit green. They will be perfectly ripe in about 15 days. Be patient and wait." Then, turning to Bode, he advised, "These pears have been offered to Buddha for several days. They shouldn't be kept too long. You should eat them soon before they spoil." Adida, being meticulous, followed his master's instructions exactly. He carefully watched over the pears, waiting each day for them to ripen. On the other hand, Bode, who was impatient, immediately peeled and ate a pear as soon as his master spoke. The unripe pear's bitterness made him grimace. 15 days later, Adida eagerly opened the basket, but to his surprise the pears were overripe, mushy, and smelled foul. Master Ting Kong, aware of what happened, called his disciples and asked about it. After hearing Adida's story, he smiled. "My child, some things can't wait too long. Whether it's green or ripe, if you miss the right moment, you'll only have regrets." Looking at Bode, he continued, "And you, some things shouldn't be rushed. Patience often yields better results." Listening to their master, Adida and Bode had a sudden realization. The same basket of pears, handled differently, led to opposite outcomes. This was a lesson in mindfulness and living harmoniously with nature, neither forcing nor rushing. This small story carried the deep philosophy of Zen Buddhism. One's mindset and way of life determine their destiny. In the same situation, if we think and act correctly, we can achieve wonderful results. The autumn breeze continued to blow gently, carrying the pure scent of huangao flowers. In the twilight, the three sat under an ancient Bodhi tree, enjoying a fragrant cup of tea together. It was a moment of peace, where their souls blended with nature, returning to their true essence. 14. Expanding the heart to embrace peace. Once upon a time, in a serene temple atop a remote mountain, there lived a famous Zen master known for his compassion and deep wisdom. He had a young disciple named Min-Duke, who often resented his fate due to his narrow-mindedness, easily falling into sadness and irritation. One day, when Min-Duke was engulfed in sorrow and frustration, the master called him over and said, "Min-Duke, go to the market and buy me a bag of salt." Min-Duke quietly set out, his mind heavy with thoughts. Upon his return, he found the master waiting by a glass of water. "Put some salt in this glass of water," instructed the master. Min-Duke complied. "Now, take a sip from this glass and tell me how it tastes." Min-Duke brought the glass to his lips, took a sip, and immediately grimaced, saying in a disappointed tone, "It's very salty and bitter, master." The master simply smiled and led Min-Duke to a nearby lake. The lake was crystal clear, calm like a giant mirror reflecting the blue sky. "Take the rest of the salt from the bag and pour it into the lake," the master directed. Min-Duke, though surprised, did as instructed. "Once you're done, bend down and take a sip from the lake," the master continued. Min-Duke scooped up a mouthful of the lake water and drank. It was cool, refreshing, and sweet in his mouth. "How does it taste?" asked the master. "The water is very clean, clear, and sweet," Min-Duke replied, his eyes wide in amazement. "Do you taste the saltiness of the salt?" the master asked further. "No, master." Min-Duke shook his head. The master nodded, smiling kindly. "You see, suffering in life is like salt. Its taste is decided by what contains it. Do you want to be a glass of water or a lake? If your heart is as expansive as a large lake, difficulties and sorrows won't be able to distress you." Min-Duke quietly contemplated the master's words. From then on, he began to open his heart, treating himself and others with kindness and generosity. Minduk's life gradually became as calm and serene as the lake, reflecting a peaceful sky. Life inevitably brings pain and challenges, like the saltiness of salt. However, the way we receive and contain these pains determines whether our lives are bright or gloomy. If our hearts are narrow like a glass of water, every sorrow turns bitter. But if our hearts are vast like a lake, the pains dissolve, leaving us peaceful and serene. Learn to expand your heart, live with compassion and generosity, and your life will become broad and spacious. When we live consciously and fully in peace, we find Buddha nature within ourselves, achieving true happiness.
If you like this video, please comment 1. And if you don't, comment 2. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.
15. Breaking free. The wind from the Dai Vai mountain rustled through the ancient pine and cypress trees, carrying the pure essence of nature. In the tranquil Zen monastery, the sound of a bronze bell echoed, summoning the monks to the main hall. Zen Master Tu Ma, a wise and revered teacher, sat with a serene presence, his eyes shining like stars. He held up a spotless white porcelain vase and asked, "Is this not a clean vase? Who can answer this?" The monastery fell silent, with monks glancing at each other in confusion. The vase was clearly clean, but could it truly be called a clean vase? Even monk Hoa Lam, known for his profound knowledge, was at a loss. Suddenly, a small figure in a faded robe stepped forward. It was Lin Hu, the monk who handled chores around the temple. Everyone laughed in surprise. "Let me try, Master," Lin Hu said calmly, without a hint of fear. Master Tu Ma smiled. "What is your name?" "My name is Lin Hu." Lin Hu took the vase from the master's hands, placed it on the ground, and then, with a powerful kick, shattered it into pieces. He quietly returned to his place. The entire monastery was stunned. Master Tu Ma burst into hearty laughter. "Excellent! You shall be the abbot of Dai Vi Mountain." Everyone was enlightened. Indeed, if it's not a clean vase, why dwell on it? Just break it. Lin Hu's kick not only shattered the vase, but also broke the chains of conventional thinking, opening the door to wisdom. Lin Hu was appointed the abbot of Dai Vi Mountain. Under his guidance, the Vine Guang Zen School emerged, becoming one of the 5 major Zen schools in China. The story of Lin Hu and the porcelain vase reminds us that sometimes in life we face complex and tangled problems. Instead of striving for the perfect solution, we should courageously let go, break the barriers of our thoughts, and allow our minds to be free and creative. Sometimes, breaking the vase is the very act that opens up new horizons. 16. Seeing the true nature to enlighten compassion. The evening sun bathed the ancient temple in gold, where Zen Master Void often sat in meditation. Today, a young novice, full of doubts, approached him. "Master," the novice bowed respectfully, "I've heard you teach that we should cultivate a mind to universally save all beings. But if someone has committed evil and lost their goodness, should we still try to save them?" Master Void smiled gently and didn't hurry to answer. He slowly ground some ink and wrote a reversed character "self" on a sheet of white paper, like a mark carved in wood. "What do you see here?" the master asked. "It's the character self, but it's written backwards," the novice replied. "Is a reversed character still a character?" The novice hesitated, then answered, "No." "If it's not a character, how do you know it's a self?" The novice hesitated again. "Well, maybe it's still a character." "If it is a character, why do you say it's written backwards?" Silenced, the novice didn't know what to say. Master Void put down his brush. looked at the novice with understanding eyes. A character, whether written forwards or backwards, is still a character. You say it's a self because you have the image of it written correctly in your mind. If you didn't know the character, whether I wrote it forwards or backwards, you wouldn't recognize it. The novice suddenly understood something. The master continued, "Both good and bad people are still people. What's important is to understand the true nature of a person. That way, when you encounter someone who has lost their way, you can still see the flicker of goodness in them, and from there, awaken their inherent good nature." A breeze fluttered through the Bodhi trees. The novice felt a weight lifted from his heart. The good needs saving, the wicked even more so. Mud can still bloom into a pure lotus. Letting go of the knife of resentment leads to the shore of awakening. Good and evil, right and wrong, after all, are just concepts created by our minds. Master Void gently stroked his silver beard, his eyes shining with infinite compassion. The novice bowed deeply, filled with gratitude. From then on, the young novice no longer puzzled over good and evil. He realized that everyone has a Buddha nature, only sometimes it is obscured by ignorance. And the task of those who practice is to light the lamp of compassion, guiding those who are lost back to their true good nature. Everyone has both good and evil within them. Do not rush to judge others. Look at their true nature. Everyone has the potential for enlightenment, even those who have lost their way. Open your heart with compassion. Help them find their true path. Good and evil, right and wrong are just concepts created by our minds. When our mind is pure, the world around us becomes better too. 17. Accepting impermanence to find peace. That night, the cold moonlight covered the path to the hut in a misty layer. Two figures in dark brown robes slowly walked towards each other, merging with the moonlight like two strokes of ink on rice paper. Zen Master Huyen Sa, with eyes bright as stars, gently smiled as he recognized his fellow monk, Zen Master Tuyet Fong. "Amitabha Buddha," Tuyet Fong greeted, his voice deep and resonant like a temple bell. "The moon is so bright tonight, illuminating even the corners of our souls." Huyen Sa nodded, his gaze distant. "Yes, the bright moon reveals both life and death, like ice melting into water, water returning to water." Tuyet Fong paused, a contemplative look in his eyes. "Speaking of death, a young monk came to see me a few days ago and unfortunately passed away last night. He asked me what happens after death. I told him it's like ice melting into water." Huyen Sa listened, the moonlight reflecting in his eyes like two morning dewdrops. "That's one perspective, but I think differently. After death, we are like water returning to water." Tuyet Fong was surprised but then understood. "Amitabha Buddha, your words are profound. Water can become clouds, rain, dew, and then return to the ocean. Death is also part of an endless cycle." The two Zen masters continued walking in silence, letting the moonlight and the night breeze soothe their hearts. The lesson about life and death, about the cycle of all things, was like a serene Zen melody filling their souls. The next morning, a young monk came to see Huyen Sa, asking about the meaning of a true life. Huyen Sa looked deep into the eager eyes of his student and gently replied, "What is a true life? It is when you no longer fear death, when you are no longer attached to life. It is when you realize you are just a drop of water in the vast ocean, free to flow, merging with the endless stream of the universe." Huyen Sa's teachings illuminated the young monk's soul. He suddenly understood that life is not a race for fame and fortune, but a journey of self-discovery, finding peace and tranquility within. The story of Zen masters, Huyen Sa and Tuyet Fong reminds us of the impermanence of life and death. It teaches us that death is not an end, but a part of an endless cycle. When we understand and accept this, we can live a more meaningful life, cherish each moment, and find peace in our hearts. 18. Compassion isn't just about being gentle. Under the shade of an ancient Bodhi tree, Zen master Chi Thuong was diligently weeding. Each stroke of his hoe was in rhythm with the breath of the earth and sky. Suddenly, a small snake slithered out from the bushes, panicked, and moved quickly. The Zen master swung his hoe, and the poor snake was dead before it even understood what was happening. A young monk who witnessed this scene was shocked and upset. He had always admired the Zen master's compassionate teachings, yet here he saw him killing a living being, contrary to everything he had been taught. "Master," the young monk said, his voice trembling, "I don't understand. You are a true practitioner. Why would you ruthlessly kill a small creature?" Zen master Chi Thuong calmly placed his hoe down, looking deeply into the eyes of his doubtful disciple. "Do you think I am being harsh?" The young monk hesitated. "No, sir, I wouldn't dare." "Then where were you when I struck the snake?" This unexpected question confused him. "I was right here, witnessing everything." The Zen master smiled gently. "You saw me strike the snake, but did you see yourself?" The young monk fell silent, pondering. He realized that he had been too focused on the Zen master's actions and had forgotten to reflect on his own inner state. He had judged too quickly without understanding the full truth. Seeing his disciple's realization, Zen master Chi Thuong continued, "Compassion isn't about indulging emotions. Sometimes, decisive actions are necessary to prevent harm and protect life. The snake might have been small, but if it had escaped, it could have harmed others. My action was not out of malice, but out of compassion for all beings." The young monk bowed his head, filled with respect and gratitude. He had learned a valuable lesson about compassion and wisdom. The story of Zen master Chi Thuong and the snake is not just a Zen anecdote, but a profound reminder of how to view and act in life. Often, we quickly judge others based on what we see, forgetting that every action has its reasons and purposes. To truly understand the truth of a situation, one must look deeply within, reflect on oneself, and expand one's compassion towards all beings. 19. Persistence and effort lead to success. In a bustling city full of glitter and gold, there lived a young monk named Thiet Nhan with a great ambition to build a golden Buddha statue. This noble aspiration was fraught with challenges, but Thiet Nhan's resolve was unshakable. On the first early morning, Thiet Nhan went to a busy area, respectfully seeking alms. A strong, burly man approached, and Thiet Nhan quickly bowed, saying, "Please, kind sir, would you be willing to donate and help me fulfill my wish to create a Buddha statue?" The man ignored him and walked away. Thiet Nhan hurried after him, humbly pleading, "Even a little bit would help. Please show mercy." The man, irritated, waved him off, saying, "I have nothing." Despite the rejection, Thiet Nhan persistently followed the man for several miles. Finally, the man gave in and tossed Thiet Nhan a small coin before leaving. The young monk gratefully held the coin and bowed deeply to thank the man. Surprised, the man asked, "Why are you so happy over just one coin?" Thiet Nhan smiled and replied, "Sir, this is the first coin I've received today. Without it, my determination might falter. Your generosity strengthens my resolve to achieve my goal. That's why I'm so happy." With that, Thiet Nhan bid the man farewell and continued his alms journey. Through many seasons of rain, wind, and sunshine, The monk finally collected enough gold and silver to cast the Buddha statue as he had dreamed. Thich Nathn's story serves as a profound reminder that no matter how grand our goals may be, with steadfast belief and relentless effort, success is within reach. Each small grain of sand builds up to a towering dune, and every pebble contributes to majestic mountains. Always believe in yourself and stay committed to your chosen path, for success awaits those who dare to dream and take action. If you find these stories inspiring and they motivate you to take action, please comment 9. If not, comment 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time. 20. Staying humble to keep progressing. Autumn winds rustled through the red maple leaves, sweeping past the window of Zen Master Voduk's study. He sat there, his expression as calm as a placid autumn lake. Facing him, a young novice named Mean Tom clasped his hands in greeting, his eyes shining with confidence. "Master, I have studied here for many years and feel that I am complete. Please allow me to travel far and wide." Voduk smiled gently, his gaze piercing into Minch Tom's soul. "Complete, you say? What do you think being complete means?" "Master, to be complete is to not be able to add anything more," Mintom replied confidently. Voduk said nothing but motioned for Mintom to bring a large stone basin. When Mintom placed the basin before him, the master asked, "Is this basin full?" "Yes, master, it is full," Mintam answered. Voduk slowly picked up a handful of sand and sprinkled it into the basin. The sand filled the gaps without spilling over. "Is it full now?" Mintam hesitated slightly, then replied, "Yes, master, it is still full." Voduk then took a handful of lime powder and poured it into the basin. The lime filled the remaining spaces but did not overflow. "What about now?" Mintam began to feel confused but maintained his composure. "Yes, master, it is still full." Finally, Voduk poured a glass of water into the basin. The water seeped into the lime and sand, yet the basin did not overflow. Voduk looked at Mintam, his eyes as deep as the clear autumn sky. "Do you see now, Mintam? This basin is like your mind. You think it is full, but actually, there is still much space to learn and to accept new things. Never be complacent with what you have. Always be humble and continue to learn. Only when you recognize your insufficiency can you truly progress on your path of practice." Mintam bowed his head, filled with gratitude. Voduk's teachings were like warm sunlight clearing the fog of complacency from his mind. He realized that life is an unending journey of learning, and only humility and a desire to learn can lead to true fulfillment. From then on, Mintam no longer hurried to leave his master. He continued his training under Voduk, filled with joy and gratitude. He understood that his mind, like the stone basin, still had much room, and he would spend his life filling it with wisdom and compassion. The story of Mintam and Zen Master Voduk reminds us that complacency is a significant barrier in the path of learning and development. Only when we recognize our inadequacies can we open ourselves to new things and keep progressing. Always be humble and eager to learn, for life is a never-ending educational journey. 21. The light of compassion in the darkness. An ancient city was shrouded in a silent night. In the narrow streets, the faint moonlight barely illuminated the moss-covered walls. A dark alley seemed to swallow every sound and light. There was no one around, rushing in fear of bumping into each other in the thick darkness. A young monk named Phap Tom was on his way back to the temple after a day of alms round. The dark alley made his steps slow down, and a bit of irritation arose in his heart. Suddenly, A dim light appeared at the end of the alley, slowly approaching. Fap Tom stepped aside, making way for the person carrying the light. "It's that blind old man again," a voice echoed from the darkness. "Every night he carries a lantern. I wonder why." Fap Tam curiously looked at the person carrying the light. It was a frail old man with white hair, his eyes closed as if he were asleep. The faint light illuminated the path in front of him, dispelling the darkness. As the old man came closer, Fap Tam clasped his hands and asked, "Are you blind, sir?" The old man smiled kindly. "Yes, I have been blind since I was a child. To me, day and night are the same." "Then why do you carry a lantern?" Fap Tom asked, even more curious. The old man stopped. His eyes seemed to look deep into Fap Tom's heart. "To protect myself and others. I don't want to bump into anyone, nor do I want anyone to bump into me." Fap Tom suddenly understood. Although the old man could not see the light, his heart always shone with a light of compassion and care for those around him. The light not only lit his path, but also helped others recognize his presence, avoiding unnecessary collisions. Fap Tom bowed his head, feeling grateful. "You truly have a bodhisattva's heart." The old man smiled and shook his head. "Not really. I do this for myself as well. I used to bump into people and get hurt. Since I started carrying the lantern, that hasn't happened anymore." Fap Tom felt enlightened. The old man's lantern was not just a physical light, but also a light of wisdom and understanding. It taught Fap Tom a valuable lesson. Helping others is also helping oneself. From then on, Fap Tom always carried the light of compassion and wisdom throughout his journey. He understood that only by illuminating his own soul could he guide others and walk together on the path to enlightenment. The story of the young monk and the blind old man reminds us of the importance of helping others. Helping others is not just a noble act, but also a way to perfect oneself. When we illuminate our souls with love and wisdom, we not only bring joy and happiness to others, but also find the true meaning of life. 22. Humility for continuous progress. In the crisp autumn breeze, the red maple leaves rustle outside the study window of Zen Master Wu Dei. He sits there, his face as calm as a serene autumn lake. Across from him, a young disciple named Min Tam joins his hands in respect, his eyes reflecting confidence. "Master, I have studied here for many years and feel that I have learned enough. Please allow me to travel and learn from the world." Master Wu Dei smiles gently, his gaze penetrating. "Min Tam, you think you are full. What do you consider full?" "Master, being full means there's no room for more," Min Tam replies confidently. Master Wu Dei doesn't say a word, but gestures for Min Tam to bring a large stone basin. When Min Tam brings it, the master asks, "Is this basin full?" "Yes, master, it is full," Min Tam answers. Master Wu Dei slowly sprinkles a handful of sand into the basin. The sand fills the gaps without spilling over. "Is it full now?" Min Tam hesitates, then responds, "Yes, master, it is still full." Master Wu Dei then pours a handful of lime powder into the basin. The lime fills the remaining spaces but does not overflow. "And now?" Min Tam feels puzzled but maintains his confidence. "Yes, master, it is still full." Finally, Master Wu Dei pours a cup of water into the basin. The water seeps into the lime and sand, yet the basin does not overflow. Looking at Min Tam, his eyes as clear as the autumn sky, he says, "Do you see, Min Tam? This basin is like your mind. You think it is full, but there is still much space to learn and accept new things. Never be complacent with what you have. Always be humble and continue to learn. Only when you realize your own inadequacies can you truly progress on your path of practice." Mintam bows his head, filled with gratitude. Master Wu Day's words warm him like sunshine, dispelling the fog of self-satisfaction in his mind. He realizes that life is an unending journey of learning, and only humility and a desire to learn can lead him to true fulfillment. From then on, Mintam no longer rushes to leave his teacher. He continues his practice under Master Wu Day, filled with joy and gratitude, understanding that his mind, like the stone basin, still has much space to fill with wisdom and compassion. The story of Mintam and Master Wu Day reminds us that complacency is a major obstacle in the path of learning and growth. Only when we recognize our own inadequacies can we open our hearts to new experiences and continuously progress. Let us always remain humble and eager to learn, for life is a journey of learning that never ends. 23. Awakening to the Way. Experience through the soul, not words. In the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu lamented, "The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao," implying that the true essence of the Tao cannot be captured in words. Similarly, Zen Buddhism believes that if something can be explained, it is not the true Tao. A young monk, eager to understand the true meaning of the Tao, sought out Master Tu Thu for guidance. He asked, "Master, when someone reaches enlightenment, can they describe the state of awakening and the deep feelings that come with it?" The Zen master smiled and said thoughtfully, "Achieving enlightenment is like trying to catch the wind. Its wonders can't be expressed in words." Undeterred, the young monk continued, "Can you use a specific image to describe this indescribable enlightenment?" The master replied, "Enlightenment is like a mute person tasting honey." The monk then asked, "If a person is not enlightened but is skilled with words, can their teachings be considered Zen?" The master gently shook his head. "Without enlightenment, words are just the chatter of a parrot." Curious, the monk asked, "How is a mute tasting honey different from a parrot learning to speak?" The master explained, "A mute tasting honey knows the experience, like someone drinking water who knows if it's hot or cold. A parrot learning to speak does not understand. It merely imitates without grasping the meaning." The smart young monk then asked, "Master, do you know or not know?" The master laughed heartily, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "I am like a mute tasting bitter herbs, unable to express it, yet speaking like a parrot. So, do you think I know or not?" The monk finally understood, bowed respectfully, and said, "Thank you, Master, for enlightening me." From this story we learn that enlightenment cannot be expressed in words but must be personally experienced and felt. It's like drinking water, only you know if it's hot or cold. The Tao cannot be conveyed through words, but must be felt in the soul. Live truthfully, experience each moment fully, and naturally you will come to understand the deepest truths. 24. Finding peace in understanding the true nature of everything. Under a clear moonlight, Zen Master Hugh Trung sat quietly by a lotus pond. The water was calm like a large mirror, reflecting the star-filled sky and the lotus petals fluttering in the night breeze. He smiled, recalling an old story with the high official, Ngu Chiu No. Back then, Ngu Chiu No, full of authority, entered the meditation room and asked about ignorance and its origins. Hugh Trung softly replied, "Buddhist teachings are fading, yet a person like you still inquires about them." This statement hit Ngu Chiu No like a cold splash, challenging his pride. His face changed, anger rose. Hugh Trung smiled again. "That is ignorance. Ignorance begins here." At that moment, Ngu Chiu No awoke. He recognized the veil of ignorance, seeing its roots in his own anger. From then on, He respected Hu Trong more than ever. Hu Trong looked at the twinkling stars on the lake's surface. He understood that life was like this calm pond. Joy, sorrow, success, failure, all were mere reflections on the water of the mind. They come and go, fleeting, leaving no trace. Meditation isn't about turning waste into roses, Hu Trong thought, but about helping us see the truth of all things, recognizing waste and a rose as a rose. As the night progressed, the moonlight faded. Hu Trong remained seated, his soul as serene as the calm water. He knew that when our minds are quiet, we can see the true nature of all things and phenomena. We will no longer be swept away by fleeting illusions, but will find true peace within our souls. The story of Zen Master Hu Trong and the high official Ngu Chiu reminds us of the importance of clearly understanding the nature of all things and phenomena. When our minds are quiet, we will not be swept away by illusions but will find true peace within ourselves.
If you like this video, please comment 1. And if you don't, comment 2. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.
25. Live fully with every breath. Under the ancient Bodhi tree, the Buddha sat quietly, a compassionate smile spreading across his face like the morning sun. The disciples returned after a day of alms, sweat glistening on their foreheads, their eyes full of joy. "You've worked hard," the Buddha said, his voice as gentle as a flowing stream. "Why did you go for alms today?" A disciple respectfully replied, "Dear Buddha, we seek alms to nourish our bodies, hoping for purity and liberation." The Buddha nodded slightly, his eyes looking deeply into each disciple as if reading their souls. "How long do you think life lasts?" "Several decades," a young disciple confidently answered. The Buddha smiled and gently shook his head. "You have not fully grasped the nature of life." Another disciple spoke, "Life is like flowers and grass, flourishing in spring and withering in winter." The Buddha nodded in approval. "You understand the brevity of life, but not completely." The disciples continued to offer various comparisons. Life is like a caterpillar living for a day, like dew disappearing in the morning sun. Each answer received encouragement and guidance from the Buddha. Finally, a contemplative disciple said, "Dear Buddha, may I say, life is just a single breath." The entire space fell silent and all eyes turned to the Buddha. He smiled, his eyes filled with satisfaction. "Yes, my children, life is just one breath in, one breath out. Cherish every moment and do not let time slip away in vain. Live every second as if it were your last breath." The Buddha's teaching echoed like thunder in the disciples' minds. They suddenly realized the fragility of life, understanding that each breath is a precious gift. The story reminds us of life's brevity, that it can end at any moment. Cherish every moment. Live fully every day. Do not let time pass in regret. Live a meaningful life and leave a good mark in the hearts of others. 26. Living fully to stop time from moving on. Under the ancient Bodhi tree, Buddhist master Fat Kuang sat in stillness, his smile gentle like a passing breeze. Dai Tri, his trusted disciple, returned after 20 years of separation, burdened with heavy knowledge. "Master, have you been well over these 20 years?" Dai Tri asked softly, his eyes sparkling with joy. Master Fat Kuang nodded, his smile unwavering. "I've been at peace. Every day I teach, preach, and write, immersing myself in the vast ocean of Buddhist teachings." Dai Tri observed his master silently, noticing the time-worn lines etched into his kind face. "Master, you should rest more." Dai said thoughtfully. At night, Master Fat Kwong escorted Dai to his room. The moonlight silvered the ancient temple's roof. The next morning, Dai woke to the resonant sound of temple bells and the rhythmic chanting from his master's meditation room. Stealthily, he peeped through the door to see his master passionately teaching his followers, his eyes bright, his voice full of zeal. Dai was moved deeply. When the meditation room emptied, Dai entered and asked softly, "Master, 20 years have passed, yet you haven't aged a day." Master Fat Kwong smiled, his gaze distant. "Time doesn't age, my child. It's only the human heart that feels the passage of time." Dai realized then. Indeed, time is but a concept, an invisible measure. What matters is how we perceive and live each moment. If our souls remain open, enthusiastic, and loving, then time will forever stand still, unable to fade the goodness within us. The story of Master Fat Kwong and his disciple Dai reminds us of the value of time and how we live with it. Time is not our enemy, but a companion, a precious gift that we should cherish. Live fully each moment, do meaningful things, love, and share with those around us. For it's only by living fully that we can feel the infinity of time and discover the true meaning of life. 27. Things to ponder. 1. Learning from failure. To succeed, you must learn to see failure as a healthy and unavoidable part of the journey to success. Joyce Brothers. 2. Movie rejections and success. The movie Star Wars was rejected by many Hollywood studios before 20th Century Fox accepted it. It went on to become one of the highest-grossing films in history. Other films like E.T., Forrest Gump, Home Alone, Speed, and Pulp Fiction were also initially rejected by major studios before finding producers who believed in them. 3. Gone with the Wind. A studio decided not to invest in Gone with the Wind because they believed no film about the American Civil War could make any money. 4. Sylvester Stallone. Sylvester Stallone grew up in a harsh family, often beaten and called stupid by his father. His childhood was lonely and difficult, with frequent school changes. A teacher, after seeing his college exam results, suggested he should become an elevator repairman. 5. Tom Watson and IBM. Tom Watson, the founder of IBM, believed in the potential success of a new product. Despite losing $10 million on the project, he supported his vice president who led the effort. When the VP offered to resign, Watson said, "Are you kidding? We just spent $10 million educating you." 6. Age is just a number. For those who think they are too old to overcome obstacles and pursue their dreams, consider the following. Famous painter Grandma Moses started painting at age 76. Ruth Gordon won an Oscar for Rosemary's Baby at age 72. Golda Meir became Prime Minister of Israel at age 71. 7. The power of a single vote. If you think your vote doesn't matter, consider these historical examples. In 1645, Oliver Cromwell won by just one vote, leading him to rule England. In 1649, losing by one vote led to King Charles Berbenber of England being executed. In 1875, one vote transitioned France from a monarchy to a republic. In 1876, Rutherford B. Hayes became President of the United States by a margin of one vote. These stories show the importance of perseverance, the value of learning from failure, the impact of decisions regardless of age, and the power of each vote. 28. The Pearl and the Dream. In the last week of the school year, Mr. York, our science teacher, gathered the 20 students in our class to say goodbye for the summer. We sat quietly as he entered the classroom. He looked the same as always, with his small bow tie and horn-rimmed glasses. After a few words, he handed each of us a small white box. "Inside," he said, "you will find a silver petal with a pearl in the center. This pearl represents your potential, the very thing you need for your future journey. Because just as sand becomes a valuable pearl inside an oyster, you hold in your hand the seeds for cultivating your latent values." I bit my lip to stop the tears that were about to flow. His words meant so much, but for me, it was too late. I had found out I was pregnant. Everything had ended. My dreams and my mother's dreams had evaporated because I had ruined my college life in a moment of weakness. How could I forget the endless sacrifices my mother made, hoping only for me to earn a college degree? She scrimped and saved every week to send a little money to my sister Marianne and me. "College is the only way out of our poor miner's life in Pennsylvania," she would say. The tough memories of my childhood were deeply etched in my mind. When I was 3, my father had to be hospitalized for tuberculosis. Years later, he came home, living listlessly, unable to work. All family burdens fell on my mother's meager salary. From these hardships, a dream was born in my mother's mind. Marianne and I must get into college. And now, instead of pride, I brought shame home. Dan and I got married. Then Dan continued with college while I had to drop out. Before Dan graduated, I gave birth to our second child. Later, Dan joined the military, and I moved with him from one base to another. Our third child was born. 7 years later, Dan was discharged, found a job, but it wasn't enough to support us, so I had to work various jobs to help out. With endless worries in my mind, I would look at the pearl and remember Mr. York's words. One night I tossed and turned, thinking about going back to college, but I'm already 35, what's the point? My mother must have sensed my turmoil because one day she called, "Do you remember the money I've been saving for you? It's still there." I stared blankly at the phone, 17 years later, and she still nurtured that dream. Finally, 6 months later, I enrolled in a local university's teaching program. The struggle was harder than I thought. Juggling family responsibilities and trying my hardest in a class filled with students half my age was daunting. One May day, after my first year of classes, I came home and cried, uncertain if I could complete the college program. My eldest daughter was about to start college that fall. Our family budget was tight. The educational expenses for the two of us were becoming overwhelming. A few days later, I ran into Mrs. York at the dentist's office. I told her about the pearl and my struggles to return to academia. "I understand," Mrs. York said. "Mr. York also started college at the age of 50. I listened, surprised, especially as she described the hardships Mr. York endured in his determination to pursue higher education. The story about Mr. York inspired me to persevere and finish the remaining 3 years of college. After graduating, I taught English at a local high school. The tough years gave me valuable life experiences and effective learning methods. I brought that understanding into the classroom. At the end of the year, the principal announced that I was nominated for a national award for outstanding teachers. In the report, I shared how Mr. York's pearl had influenced me. In September, I received that prestigious award. Interestingly, afterwards, Mr. York and I were invited for a press interview. I met him again, moved when he said he would retire next year. He even shared that there was a time he thought about dropping out because I didn't believe in the future, didn't believe in myself. I asked him if he also doubted the 20 students in our class when he gave us the pearls. He replied, "No, I saw all 20 of you as valuable pearls." 29. Please forgive me. For several years in middle school, I was always at the bottom of my class and didn't want to go to school anymore. At that age, staying at home was pointless as I couldn't do anything productive, so my aunt and uncle sent me to school just to get rid of me. Since my grandmother passed away, my mother disappeared too. My aunt's harsh treatment and my uncle's beatings turned me into a hardened, rebellious, and even unruly kid, as my uncle would say. But no one ever guided me. At school, no one wanted to be friends with a poor, lousy student who was always grumpy like me. The teachers tried to help, but eventually gave up. If it weren't for my teacher, I don't know where I'd be today. I finally found some coach plants in the cemetery and brought them to class to smear on her chair. I didn't really hate her. She was kind and pretty. But I was angry because my uncle had beaten me the day before, and I wanted revenge because she had told on me. Watching her uncomfortable and squirming in her seat amused me. Before leaving the classroom, she looked at me for a long time, at least it seemed so, and there was a tear in her eye. Her voice was heavy. "You are still very young. Mistakes are natural, but please remember this whenever you're about to do something. It will make me very sad." Her look and her words changed my life. For over 15 years, I struggled alone, working and studying at the same time, dealing with the daily grind. Sometimes I felt exhausted and thought about giving up, but her eyes and her words always brought me back. The bowls of porridge with a touch of yellow sugar and the cold water she gave me when I studied at her house kept me going. My mother remarried when I was 8 and never returned. To me, she was just a vague concept. I only respected one person, my teacher. I was determined to come back one day, successful, to kneel and apologize to her, to tell her that the student she visited countless times to vouch for at school, the one who studied at her house from the afternoon until 10 p.m., the one who smeared couch on her chair and cried with joy when receiving the brand new white shirt she sent at the beginning of the 10th grade, did not let her down. I've walked the path she hoped for. I have almost everything in life, but I will never be able to apologize to her. She couldn't wait until I could say sorry. For the rest of my life, I will never have the chance to ask for her forgiveness. My teacher is gone, forever, when she was still so young. If you find these stories inspiring and they motivate you to take action, please comment 9. If not, comment 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time. 30. Everyone can fly. There was a boy who lived in an orphanage from a young age. He always dreamed of being able to fly like the birds. No explanation could change his mind. He often wondered why he couldn't fly, especially when he saw even larger birds flying effortlessly at the zoo. Another boy, who had been paralyzed from a young age, only dreamed of walking and running like other kids. He frequently asked his father why he couldn't walk. One day, the orphanage boy went out and came across the paralyzed boy playing in a sandbox at the park. He ran over and asked if the boy in the sandbox had ever dreamed of flying. "I've never dreamed of that," the paralyzed boy replied, "but I always wish I could walk normally like you." "I'm sorry to hear that. It's really sad. Hey, can we be friends?" Of course. The two boys played happily until the paralyzed boy's father came with a wheelchair to take his son home. The boy who dreamed of flying whispered something to his friend's father. "Sure, if you want to," the father replied with a smile. The boy approached his friend and said, "You're my only friend. I wish there was a miracle that would let you walk. All I can do is this little thing." With that, he lifted his friend on his back and started walking. He began slowly, then gradually picked up speed until he was running. The paralyzed boy cheered excitedly. "Thank you. This is the first time I don't need a wheelchair." The boy who wanted to fly ran even faster, his face flushed and his shirt soaked with sweat. The happy father watched as the two boys ran around the grass. The paralyzed boy threw his hands in the air and shouted, "Dad, look, I can fly. I'm flying." This heartwarming story of two boys reminds us that even if you can't fly, you can help someone else fly. Just like if you can't achieve your own dreams, you can still help someone else achieve theirs, even if their dream is just like yours, and you can still be happy. 31. If I were you. If I were a guy and you were a girl, I would tell you how beautiful you are every day, no matter if it's true or not. And I would glare at anyone who dared to criticize you. I would always hold your hand in crowded places, not because I'm afraid you'll get lost, but so people could see and say, those two are in love. I would sit quietly while you cry and hand you tissues when we watch sad movies, even if I don't find them sad at all. I would take you to eat ice cream, desserts, and all the things girls love but guys usually don't. I would eat with you, not just watch, even if I don't like it, because I know you don't like eating alone. I would try to notice every detail, like if you're wearing a new shirt or if your hair is 2 centimeters shorter, even though most of the time my efforts would be in vain. I would tell you your hair looks longer when you ask, even if it doesn't, because I know you want it to be. I would eagerly wake up at 4 a.m. to wake you up for work, even if I wouldn't know what to do myself at that time. I would listen to you talk about everything and everyone, even people I've never heard of, with all the focus I could muster. I would always be honest. If one morning I woke up and didn't feel anything for you anymore, I would call you and say, hey, let's break up. I would never make long-term promises about 5 or 10 years from now. I would only promise what I could do because I know girls hate empty promises. I would never swear to do everything for you, but I would do it. If I were a guy and you were a girl, that's how it would be. So if I'm a girl and you're a guy, how would it be? 32. Tears from the sky. On a cold winter evening, sitting next to her husband by the fireplace, Fiammetta suddenly asked, "What is rain?" Outside, the weather was terrible, with raindrops hitting the window pane in a rhythmic tap, tap, tap. Fiammetta asked again as she shook her husband's hand, "What is rain, honey?" "Rain, my dear, means the sky is crying," he replied. But why would the sky cry? Well, it's not exactly the sky crying. More accurately, it's the tears of all the sad people in the world coming together to form clouds. All those tears, really? Not all, but most of them. The drops falling from the sky are from those who are sad and have no one to comfort them. If they were comforted, those tears would gather and be kept in the heart like a precious treasure. But why does it rain so much? That means nowadays many people are crying, but there are too few to comfort them. So, how do we make the rain stop? Do I need to comfort everyone in the world? I want it to be sunny tomorrow. Just comforting one person is enough, especially when they're crying and you meet them. But I'm not sure you can do that. Then tonight, I'll put lots of glasses on the windowsill to catch the rainwater, and I'll return it to its true owners, those who have been sad and crying. But how can you return each tear to the right person? They don't have their names on them. Fiammetta didn't have an answer to her husband's question, but she knew there was a way. The next morning, she patiently placed each droplet on her palm and looked inside. Within those tiny crystal drops, faces always remained. 33. The resilience of the cactus. Have you ever taken a moment to look at a cactus and wonder, how can a cactus survive in any kind of weather? Well, a cactus might not be as showy as a rose, as fragrant as a lily, or as pure as a lotus blooming in the mud. Instead, it often looks rough and ugly with its sharp thorns and rugged body. But hidden beneath that unattractive exterior is a powerful vitality that no other flower can match. My family used to have a small garden with many kinds of flowers: white roses, white chrysanthemums, forget-me-nots, and of course, a cactus. Every afternoon, I would stroll through the garden. I often saw all the flowers wilting in the scorching heat, except for the cactus, which remained vibrant. Since then, I've come to love the cactus because it taught me a valuable lesson. Even though I may not be as fortunate as others, I must still live a meaningful life. Dear friend, even if life hasn't given you much luck, take a look at the cactus. It stays green, whether planted in dry soil or on a sunny, windy sand dune. The cactus knows how to overcome all the challenges of the weather, harnessing its strong will to thrive and bring a touch of green to the world. 34. Why we live. 3 people looking sad came to seek advice from a wise person on how to live happily. First, tell me what you are living for, the wise person asked. The first one said, I live because I don't want to die. The second one said, I live to see if tomorrow will be better than today. The third one said, I have a family to support. I can't die, so I have to live. The wise person shook their head and said, Well, of course, you're not happy because you live out of fear, waiting, and forced responsibility, not because of a purpose. 35. Glass and water. The glass said, I'm so lonely, I need water. Please give me some water. The owner asked, All right, if I give you water, will you not feel lonely anymore? The glass replied, I think so. The owner brought water and poured it into the glass. The water was very hot, making the glass feel weak and as if it was about to melt. The glass thought, This must be the power of love. After a while, the water became warm and the glass felt very comfortable. The glass thought, This is the taste of life. The water cooled down and the glass began to feel scared, not knowing why. The glass thought, This is the feeling of loss. The water became cold and the glass felt hopeless. The glass thought, This is destiny's arrangement. The glass cried out, Owner, please pour out the water. I don't need it anymore. The owner was not there. The glass felt suffocated. The cold water stayed inside, making the glass very uncomfortable. The glass shook itself hard. The water eventually spilled out, but before the glass could feel happy, it fell to the ground. The glass shattered. Before dying, the glass saw that each piece had traces of water. The glass then realized that it truly loved the water, but it couldn't keep the water whole inside anymore. The glass cried, its tears mixed with the water. It was using its last bit of strength to love the water one more time. The owner returned. He picked up the broken pieces and one piece cut his finger, causing blood to flow out. The glass smiled, wondering if love must involve pain to be appreciated. The glass smiled again, wondering if love must involve losing everything with no way to fix it before giving up. 36. Talk to your child about roads. The image of roads always fascinates me because in each of our lives, many roads are always present. There are winding roads, there are rugged dirt roads, there are smooth, spotless roads, there are slender roads covered with fallen leaves. There are roads shimmering in beautiful sunlight, enchanting like in fairy tales. But there are also bare, cold roads. Yet, no matter the road, I love to capture their images. Because photos of roads not only take me back to warm memories of past experiences, but also ignite in me a passion for upcoming journeys filled with the thrill of discovery. With so many roads, there will be times when we need to choose. Sometimes life or our desire for new experiences will compel us to leave the old path, face many new roads, and make us think about choosing one to continue the journey. If you ever find yourself facing many roads like that, stay calm, consider your options, and bravely choose a path to confidently walk on. And once you've decided, never doubt your decision. March forward, enjoy the joy of exploring your destination, and overcome the obstacles along the way. Don't regret, because even if a road doesn't bring you what you expected, it still gives you rich experiences and valuable lessons for choosing the next road. Soon, you'll be wise enough to choose your own path. You might continue walking the same road, or you might have to go back and forth on many roads before reaching your desired destination. But no matter which road you travel, I hope you always feel confident in your choices and exhilarated by the discovery of new things that always exist on each new road. This joy of exploration is a precious reward for those who venture on that path.
If you like this video, please comment 1. And if you don't, comment 2. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.